Hello everyone! Today I'm going to take a look at the Renegade 1.5 2.0 rules drops and see what kind of ideas Rob and Val had and how to implement them, especially in competitive the old world games. It's going to be a little bit of a first overview. I watched the video, I skimmed through the pages myself, but sort of looking to read and think about competitive army list ideas, seeing how this would hold up in the meta along with you guys. And I really think there are some pretty spicy things in there, lots of a lot of interesting ways you could go with the army. So I'm looking forward to discuss this with you guys. Just gonna go over the document with you, as I think that's the most the easiest way of doing things. The no changes up to here yet. So here we're gonna start. I'm not gonna go over every single change because I think some changes are more interesting or less interesting than others. For example, allies is not something I think that really matters in most of your games, as basically no events ever allow you to have allies. So I'm going to focus on, well, maybe the more spicy bits. Regarding your composition list, I think a very big thing is that you are not required anymore to be forced to take a unit of Saurus Warriors. I think it's a great change. I think will make the game a lot more fun, army construction a lot more fun, and I think it's a pretty big buff for the army because you can now go full skinks, for example, not have to hand out those points to your opponent anymore. The other changes are you just got a lot of more freedom in your list. You can still have your core unit of Temple Guard, which is good, but before it, if you wanted to take a skink hero, or if you want to take Pterodon Riders, you needed a skink hero. If you want to take a Ripper-Dactyl Riders, you needed to take a skink hero. All those things are out, so it's just a lot more free, and I think that's great. One Slam Mage Priest or one All Plot per 1000 points sounds great. I don't really see how that ever sort of like constrains you, however, because I think like points wise it would be like very hard to be able to ever fit like more Slam Mage Priests than one per 1000 point anyway. But I mean, it's a reasonable it's a reasonable way to limit stuff. So the army composition for it was very constraining you before. It's now a lot freer, and I love that. It gives you a lot more opportunities in list building. Then the special rules regarding the arcane vessel rule. Now you can channel through this model, including the range of the spell, unless it's a vortex. Like the big change about it, like how it is in the normal game right now, when you channel through a skink, you are not allowed to dispel to the skink. You need to be actually in range of the slan to be able to dispel it. And I think it's quite a bit of a nerf, actually. I think that's the whole reason why you do this. And I think, yeah, if you like invest in level 1 skink priest, which isn't really gonna do anything relevant anyway, and you have them in range, you're casting spells with them, I think it's just kind of meh right now. I don't think you should go towards that currently, which is, I think, kind of a shame. I think it should just keep the old rules, and it would be better. Aquatic, it's just a reasonable rule. Water features, open ground, I don't think it's really impactful. Kind of the same for beast handlers. It just makes them work how they used to do. You just ignore the handler, so I think that's fine. I think Predatory Fighter is pretty nice small buff for all Saurus units. Most Saurus units, apart for the Carnosaur, are quite bad. So getting those sixes, exploding sixes as it were, to get additional hits if you roll a 6 to hit. Also for some mounts like the Carnosaur and a Troglodon, I believe. It's a small buff, but I think it's nice. I think the Saurus can really use it. There's another change to Cold-Blooded. The Cold-Blooded change was already in the old document, and we have already found out it's a big change. Like for example, it makes cold ones a lot better because your Cold-Blooded checks now suddenly get to use 3d6, which makes them a lot more reliable, and I think it's very important in the vampire count matchup to actually get the cold-blooded rule, because, well, a scream is a leadership check, so that really makes it so you take a lot less wounds. I think it's a good change. I think it was really weird to change it to fear, panic, and terror. The whole army, all the leadership values are sort of taken down a little bit to take note of cold-blooded. So I think it's a great change, and I think it's quite a big buff, especially in the vampire count matchup. For the rest, drop rocks now has an AP of 1. I think drop rocks was actually already kind of fine if you use it in a specific way. I think drop rocks is really good, especially if you use it with battle magic and arcane urgency. So then your pterodons can zip 40 inches across the table when dropping rocks, and that makes it so people really cannot leave their wizards outside of their units. So I think it should be mostly looked towards that. It's not really about the damage potential of drop rocks itself, but it's Lookout Cert doesn't work against it, so you can snipe stuff with it, and that means that characters will go in units, which is probably annoying for them. So when looking at it like that, that's for how I would say the whole point of drop rocks. The AP of 1 doesn't really matter because most wizards don't have it, but it's a small buff. It ultimately doesn't matter in the great scheme of things. So for the special rules, I think the predatory fighter rule is actually the biggest, but these are just all like small quality of life improvements, small buffs, with cold-blooded being already in the old version, but being the most impactful, I'd say. Almost forgot one, hiding in the next page. Skink Riders. Attacks made against this unit are results against the web skill of the rider, the crew, or monster, whichever is higher. I think this is a good change, and I think this specifically is a good change for the Skink Priest on an Ancient Stegadon, because the Skink Priest is web skill 2, and having a monster with web skill 2, like being always hit on 3, is actually kind of annoying. So getting to use the higher web skill of the Ancient Stegadon is quite good. It's another small buff, and it's another just reasonable quality of life thing. No big competitive impact, but definitely strong. Going on to magic items. In the video they said the magic weapons were still being considered and thus weren't really ready yet. I think there's quite some space to improve stuff. From the magic weapons that are now, I think the Piranha Blade is actually pretty fine right now on like a Skink Hero on a Pterodon or something. Can also go snipe wizards, even just fly them into a unit, like kill them and then die, but you got a wizard. Could be worth it, like points wise. Or you can have like this solo Pterodon, like sort of like Pegasus Knight, kind of like Pegasus Hero kind of idea. Them flying around with a Piranha Blade, it's pretty good. And the Blade of Revered Tsunki is actually not bad, I think, right now. Like no armor saves or ward saves are allowed against it, and a lot of the game relies on that, especially ward saves. It used to be that it was just worse than the Ogre Blade, but now the Ogre Blade is 75 points. You cannot take Ogre Blade and Talisman of Protection anymore. So now that you can take Blade of Revered Tsunki and Talisman of Protection on an Old Blood, and I think that's actually kind of already a reasonable build. So I think you can definitely do some cool stuff. Like the old books have tons of cool magical items in them, but it's not actually that horrible for what we have here. A Piranha Blade on like an Old Blood, maybe also not crazy. It's a shame it's 35, because I think if it was 30, you could go Armor of Destiny and Piranha Blade and like go hard in multiple wounds. You're only strength 5 then, which is like not great, but yeah, like you couldn't anyway. So the points are a little bit annoying, but I think it's fine what's in here, even though I think it could definitely use a little spice up. The other things here, Shield of the Mirror Pool. You can reflect magic missiles. You still need to take a Wizardly Dispel attempt. I kind of actually, I understand it, but I kind of am annoyed by it. Like, in the case that your unit that got a specific magical item then gets hit by a magical missile, which is the only thing this item does, then you roll a 4-up, then you get to bounce it back, and then they still get to do a Wizardly Dispel. Like, there's like so many hoops you have to jump through. I think like if your opponent knows you have a shielded mirror pool, they're just not gonna cast magic missiles on it. So, which is fine. I think that's a good sort of thing to have access to, even though 40 points is a little bit expensive for it. I think you can take those double hoops out of it. Like, you already have to roll a 4-up. Like, if you roll that 4-up, let somebody just use the magic missile, please. But these are all small things. Doesn't really matter. What is not a small thing and what does actually matter is the Sun standard of Gotek. I think this is by far the strongest thing in the Renegade Lizardmen book right now, for the simple reason that we have access to illusion magic and a really good wizard that can also be a BSB. So currently, I think, especially with sort of like the Death Star sort of game we're up against right now, I think currently if you take like 30 Temple Guard, get a Slan, make him the BSB, make it so he has the Sun Standard of Gotek because he can, he can do both. He can actually he can be the BSB and the general, and he can have 100 points of magic standards, and he can have like focus rumination for the +3 to cast, and then go illusion. That's the whole point, and then you go glittering ropes. So then you have a massive unit of Temple Guard which permanently has -2 to hit effectively. And I just don't think that's fun. Their web skill 4, I believe, or 3 or something. So basically anything in the game will hit it on 5s or even 6s. Stacking -1s to hit are really strong. I was kind of weirded out by it because they said in the video, oh yeah, we did sort of the same with like ogres. They had the -1 to hit banner as well, and people like all respond like, well, yeah, Beastmen have it. It's really strong already in Beastmen. Slugskin gives -1 to hit for an entire unit, but they do not have illusion magic, so you do not get to stack it. And in the Ogre book, it was found out that people were like, well, you can actually stack this with illusion magic on like a big unit of Ogre Brills, and it will be really strong and really annoying to play against. And they changed it back to make it -1 web skill, which makes it bad all of a sudden again. But I mean, yeah. But yeah, currently they sort of made the same mistake twice, which is sort of weird to me. But I think it happens. I think this is very likely to be reverted back if they play like a ton of games with it, because it's just not very fun. I don't know what I would do with the Sunset of Kotek, because I think like the sort of the hard thing, the sort of complicated thing about this for me is like the two strong things in the games right now are Death Stars and still kind of Dragon stuff, but mostly Death Stars. And I think as an army, you kind of need a Death Star to be able to compete against those armies. So like when I put like that big Temple Guard unit with a Slan against, for example, Beastmen, who have like their 40-man gore unit with like Slugskin and all sorts of stuff, then it feels very reasonable to me to get an item like this. But it pushes the game even more towards Death Stars and like stacking buffs on these massive units, which I don't like, which I don't think is really fun, because I think the game should be about multiple units and not just about two big units bumping into each other. So I think sort of to be competitively viable, the Lizardmen kind of need stuff like this to be able to compete on the higher levels, but I don't want them to need that, because that means the game is just not really interesting. So would it make them stronger than the strongest meta armies right now? No. Would it push them in to a direction I don't really like? Yes. Do I think it's an oversight? Yes. I think we should do something else with this. You could make it like to keep the theme of the Sun Standard, like reroll successful 6s to hit, because they like people cannot see. That could make it fine, but then you're adding more rerolls in the game, which slows it down. I understand not wanting to have a lot of rerolls in the game. That could be an idea, but I don't know. I think this is a little bit too much right now. Then the Jaguar standards. Whenever you make a pursuer charge roll, roll an extra d6 and discard the lowest result. I think it's pretty fine. I think it's especially good on like infantry. But the annoying thing about it does it actually increase your maximum charge distance, which is kind of the important part. So even if you would put this on like a tempo card, on like your big tempo card brick, they would still only have a max charge of 10, which is like, well, if your opponent stands still instead of your massive block within 10 inches, then well, you're sure you're gonna charge them. But I mean, if they're reasonable, they won't. So it probably won't matter a whole ton. So I think it's a cute little item, but I don't think it's that important. I'd say like why not just make it Swiss stride? Like just give an infantry unit Swiss stride. Just why not? Just make them all Jaguars. I think it's cool. I think it would make it a lot more impactful and actually make it worthwhile to take. So maybe something to consider. Like it would actually give your Saurus warriors or your Temple Guard brick like a 13-inch charge distance. So who knows? Why not? Also trying to make a small shout out. Like it's not actually in the Renegade list, but like Glyph Necklace got a lot better with like the wizard changes, because everybody first had +4 to cast, and then you only got a +2 with Magic Resistance 2. But now you just eliminate their casting bonus altogether, so it's sort of got twice as good. So Glyph Necklace also, if you're looking at Lizardmen items, definitely an item to take mind of. Then another small change. Venom of the Firefly Frog has magical attacks now. And yeah, it really makes sense. It's a magical item. It should give magical attacks, right? Like, don't think it matters much. Unless you're like specifically building against, I don't know, killing the Green Knight or Fear or something. I don't think you ever take it, but I mean it's there. The Ixie Grub, it's not a toughness test anymore. It's just a leadership check. I don't know. I thought it was kind of funny to have it as a toughness test, because the whole idea of the model like choking on the XT grub, making it that they couldn't keep it down. But it also kind of makes it unusable for Skink Priests, because their toughness is 2. So you're like 66% chance of just wasting your arcane item. So you would never take it, you only put it on Slan. It's pretty expensive, over 20 points, but a +2 to the casting roll is quite good. So I kind of like the change, and this makes it also definitely usable, especially if you have a skink within the command range of a Slan. They can actually chuck it down. So I think it's a good change, it's a reasonable change, but I still don't think it's good enough to take. Top 10 of the old ones, they're looking to change it as well, which is cool. I think it's a really iconic item, so it's cool that they look towards it. That were all the items. Now let's look towards the disciplines. So a very big change is, I think these are big buffs as well. I think these are really relevant for competitive players as well. Where you first only could take a single one, which is pretty lame, you can now take up to 3, up to a maximum of 100 points. It actually doesn't say it in here, but you can see it in the Slan entry itself. And it can really improve your Slan quite a bit. I think one of the strongest right now is Focused Rumination. It's 65 points, but you get +1 to casting and dispelling, and you can cast an extra spell, so you actually go up to level 5. I think it's expensive, but I think it's strong, because having that +3 makes it so you dominate like level 4 wizards or things without a plus casting, because as I talked about in my dispelling video, like getting more pluses to cast progressively gets better the more you have. So getting the third one is better than getting like the second one or the first one, effectively, if you look at the maths. So I think it's good, but it's expensive and it makes sense for Slan. So I like it, but I also think it will be a mainstay. A Higher State of Mind only got the name change, which I think is fair, because that's what the name always was. And then we have Focus of Mystery. It's basically a lore familiar, 45 points. I kind of don't like this one from a competitive perspective, because the Slan already gets an extra spell, so they already get 5 spells, like in their base loadout. So paying like 45 points for one more spell effectively is, I don't think you would ever do it. Like it's a way to guarantee the spells that you want, and also getting getting the signature spells, especially the Lord of Lustre ones, are quite strong right now. But I think it's just too expensive for effectively one extra spell. So maybe if you really want something like Urban Ramparts or something, but I don't know. I think it's too expensive. I think it's also difficult though with Lore Familiar. If you drop the points, then it's just like, why would I just take Lore Familiar? And then it just becomes better than Lore Familiar. So I don't know. Maybe just make it like 20 points, get an extra spell, but then it's still effectively better than Lore Familiar. I don't know. I feel like the jury's still out on this one. You can do a little bit more with it. Then you have Wandering Deliberations, also Blast from the Past, and you get all the lore signatures from Battle Magic, Demonology, Dark Magic, Elementalism, High Magic, Illusion, and Necromancy. So it's on, and you still get to take Lore of Illustrious spells. So basically, what do you get? I think Battle Magic, it's an Assailment, and you're in the second rank as a Slan, so it doesn't do anything, so that one is bad. Demonology, that's the Summoning, right? So that's a good magic missile. I think that's strong. Dark Magic, I think, has a bad magic missile, so it's like, eh. Elementalism has like the minus initiative thing you never take, so it's quite bad. High Magic has Drain Magic, which is a good one. So especially with something like Become and Cogitation, you can really get an anti-magic slan in there. So I think that's fine. Big one is Illusion, of course. You get Glittering Rope, so that's good. And Necromancy. Actually, I'm not quite sure what Necromancy is. I think I have the rule book open right here. See what Necromancy is. I know most of them off the top of my head, but not this one, it seems. 12 is below. Oh yeah, another Assailment. So, so just bad, sadly. So yeah, you get like the high magic, dispelling one. You get a good magic missile, and you get glittering rope, and then you get the 2 signatures from Lore of Lustre. So I think that's fine. Once again, because you already get like 5 spells, I don't think it's like great to pay 35 points for this, but it's like a way to get glittering ropes, and also a good magic missile, because that's not in Illusion, even though there's other good stuff. So I think it's a reasonable choice. Then Become a Cogitation just got a little bit cheaper. You get to reroll one of the d6 for making a Wizardry Dispel. I think it is a good combo with Focus Rumination, because then you Dispel 27, you get +3 to Dispel, you get to reroll one of your dice in a Dispel. I think this combination will be my go-to, honestly, because magic is pretty common right now in the game, and like this having like a huge Dispel bubble +3 with a reroll, I think it's really good against stuff like, for example, the Vaal Tides, to name something. Sorcerer's Voids, 25 points for minus D3. Magic Resistance, I don't know, can we just make it a -3? I just hate like buying these sort of like random things, especially for something that's not always relevant. Don't think it's great. And I think Soulstone is quite strong as well, especially if you take it in a Temple Guard unit. I would love to take Rumination, Become a Cogitation, and Soulstone actually. Like really build a big slam. Doesn't quite fit. But I think that's interesting. So because I think you could go like full magical power and go like Focus Rumination and Become a Cogitation. You could also say like you really want the Soul of Stone to make sure your Temple Guard are fine. But those are choices. That's good. That's like interesting. Same with Wandering Deliberations. I think the only thing that really kind of falls flat right now is Focus of Mystery, because it just 45 points for one spell. I don't like that. I don't like those numbers. And of course, we still have higher state of consciousness for the solo slam, which is cool. Then the Lore of Lustria, the spell changes. I think basically they changed Apotheosis so that you can heal monsters, which is great, which is why you would want to use it anyway. So I think that's really cool. The range is 24 inches as well, so it's kind of big. So you like can take your big Scarvet and like keep boosting his wounds, which I think it's good, and I think it's also like a cool idea of like the Slan using his magical powers to like heal and help his like monstrous allies. I think it's a good change. I think it's interesting. And the biggest change, I think, Monsoon, needing a +10 to cast right now, which is hard. But basically, the big change is that you now can move it yourself. So it's basically the old Pillar of Fire. Very, very dangerous to go towards something that was removed from the game because it was too strong. That used to be the only vortex you could move, but I think the big difference is Monsoon doesn't actually do damage. So, like moving something multiple times over it to do like multiple times the damage doesn't really work like that. Also, if you spam it. But I still think Monsoon can be quite annoying because it will be always like you can block units with it. So it's like a pillar of a pillar of crystal that you can move. So it can be like constantly like in front of you, and you're like, get it out of the way. I think it might be more annoying than they anticipated. If you have like a dragon who's like looking into a thundercloud all the time and can do anything the whole game, but I think that's fine. I think that's reasonable. You know, I mean, it's +10 to cast. Even with focus rumination, you need a 7 on the dice to get it. You can get like an XT grub, but you can only do that once per game. Somebody can also dispel the vortex as well. So I think it's a reasonable tool against all the big monsters that are out there. And at a certain moment, if you can just get really close, you can just still see it. And of course, every time it's in front of you, and it's never certain it will be there when you're charging, because at the start of the turn you can dispel it. So there's counterplay there. You always have your Fated Dispel, even though you need an 11 or a 12 to dispel it. So I think it's strong, but it's cool. I think it's different. I think the drench stuff, like the skinks not being affected by it, but other things as well. I think it's a really, really cool design idea, and I think it's a tool the army desperately needs, namely being something to do against monsters. Then we're going into the units. Gonna go a little bit quicker over these as well. Big change. They're infantry again, so they can go in units. They can get Lukatzer again, which is just a great change. I hated that they became monstrous creatures. Just made them horrible. Made it you had to take a feral. Made it they just randomly die in certain matchups because they have magic missiles, and it's so annoying. So I think it's a great change. I think like that's the way it always has been, that your Slan is in your unit of Temple Guard. It's really cool. The Palanquin rules have basically been changed for that, so they can be in the second rank, so that's cool. Can make your big Temple Guard brick again. And of course, from the old version, we still have the Wisdom of the Old Ones. So they once per turn they can reroll single d6 when making a casting roll, and I know an additional spell, which I think is just reasonable for like the best wizards in the game to have a rule that makes them better than just a random punky like Imperial Wizards that's level 4. And never made sense to me in my sort of headcanon that yeah, the Slan is a lot more expensive, but they basically only get defensive stats, which doesn't make him a better caster, and they can just cast just as well as just some random Imperial guy. So I think it's good. I think it's a good rule, and it puts Slan sort of kind of where they should be, even though they're quite expensive. Then Saurus Heroes. Basically removed Furious Charge and gave them Predatory Fighter, which I think is just a reasonable change. Maybe just could keep Furious Charge. Don't see why you'd actually have to remove it specifically for the Saurus Heroes, but I mean, it's fine. It's basically a side grade. The one thing I do find strange is that Scar Veterans now have Armored Hide 1. That is because they take light armor, but this weirdly makes Scar Veterans the only Saurus that have Armored Hide 1, because even the normal Saurus warriors have Armored Hide 2, and all the skinks have Armored Hide 1. So it's like, why? It's weird. Why does the hero level character is the only one with Armored Hide 1? And I get it. It's because of like balancing and the saves, and you want the old blood to be older, but like this makes the Scar Veteran less durable than just your normal warrior guy. So I would just give him Armored Hide 2 as well. Just make it so Saurus guys have Armored Hide 2, clear, easy, and your skinks have 1. This is just like a headcanon, quality of life kind of things. I've been looking throughout the book, and if there's like any good, like sort of heavy armor, magical heavy armor you could take. And basically the only good option is Armor of Destiny for specifically Old Blood, so that would give them a 4-up ward and a 3-up armor save. Because it's got Armored Hide 2, like light armor, you could give him a shield and like a magic weapon. You probably still want to just give him like a great weapon. So I think it's fine, but because there's no real great cheap heavy armor variants, you can't really combo that Armored Hide 2 very well into something that gives you a 3-up, which is the maximum you can have on like a Carnosaur where you want to take these guys on anyway. So yeah, I think it's fine changes, it's small changes. Regarding skink heroes, they get Armored Hide as well. You can take light armor, scouts, vanguard, so you can actually go with the skinks. I think that's great. I think these are all reasonable changes. The blowpout get move and shoot, which I think puts it basically on par with javelin. I think currently in the rules as written, you basically always should take javelins because you can move 12 and shoot 12, so your threat range is 24. But with a blowpipe, you can only move 6 and then shoot 12, so your threat range is 18. So you should basically never take blowpipes. And giving the move and shoot makes it an interesting choice. I think javelins might just still kind of sort of win out because you also get the shield, and having a 5-up save instead of 6-up save is actually kind of important because there's also quite a lot of like AP -1 in the game, so then you can still get a save. But now it's at least a choice. Now it's at least interesting. So that's good. I think it's a good change. Moving on, cold ones getting counter charge. I think it's a pretty big change, but I think it's kind of needed to make them a reasonable heavy cavalry unit. So that's cool. They're only moving 7, so they could definitely use it, and it makes it so they get to hit a little bit more often. Ripperdactyls getting some pretty and Pteranodons as well, actually getting 2 attacks, getting some pretty big buffs. I think this is actually maybe like interesting direction to push army building in, because like going sort of like mass like Pegasus Knights and like just going Pterodons and Ripperdactyls and just going shooting, especially with the better Fire Leech Bolas right now, and just be like really annoying, sort of like Pegasus Knights that can fly and that can shoot. Of course, Pegasus Knights can fly, but that can shoot. I think that's actually sort of like an interesting list idea. They're made of wet paper, so if somebody has strong shooting, they can easily deal with them. But if they don't, you can just fly around them and just be very annoying. So I think that's a cool new design space, and I think like the small buffs on the attacks initiative, especially the thing that you do not need to take skink heroes anymore when taking Pterodons or Ripperdactyls, it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. And I think it might just be like a new playstyle for Lizardmen, like go flying flock and just annoy people. Maybe with like just normal skinks and like a big temple guard brick to back them up, or maybe not even just go full skinks and just go full evasion. It sounds cool. It sounds interesting. I kind of like it. Then a whole new unit, skink cohorts, 5 points, basically ranked skinks. It's cute that they brought like the Crocskull thing back and like, you can put them in the unit, but that unit kind of was always bad because basically for people who don't know, you can put Crocskull in your unit and they can fight, and they can also be just hit back, so it's like kind of a combined unit. The whole problem of the unit is that it's like a close combat unit, but it's toughness 2, and it has like a 6-up armor save. Yeah, sure, those quick swords hit you a little bit, but just go stabbing stinks and you just rack up combat resolution like no one's business and just win combat always against this. And they do not have the evasive qualities of skink skirmishers. So I think it's cute they brought it back, but I think competitively it's bad, especially since Crocskull's like 49 points, which is dumb. So it's cute, but it's not great. Then we have the skink skirmishers. They actually kind of nerfed them a little bit. They brought them to 6 points. Not sure what I think about it. I think you kind of need to if you also have skink cohorts, because I think you already never take skink cohorts because skink skirmishers are better. So if you make them the same price, that you would only exacerbate that problem. But skink skirmishers already got nerfed pretty hard by the whole poison is just not auto wound anymore, but only +2 to wound. So yeah, and they were already nerfed. They already got a side nerf because of like all the poison blobs, and then you nerf them again because you want to introduce a unit that's kind of worse. I don't know. Um, I guess you would still definitely play skink skirmishers currently. Or maybe it's fine. Maybe it gives a little bit more diversity because they're good, like objective cappers. You can just put them on an objective and like just have them hang around and be annoying. Do I love the change? The nerf? Definitely not. I'd honestly maybe go to 4 points for skink cohorts and just 5 for skink skirmishers. I guess I'm a Lizardman player, so of course I want cheaper stuff. But I mean, Lizardmen are really a bottom tier army right now, so just nerfing like one of their best units like this, even if it's just by a single point, because you want to take a ton of skink skirmishers. I'm not sure. If the poison attack change, if the poison was the old rules, I definitely get it. But since they changed it, that's I don't know. That's not where I would go. Then Chameleon Skinks got a lot of new rules. They got aquatics, ambushers, chameleons, fire and flee, loner, which makes sense because if there's like a normal guy in there, it makes sense that they that they would lose their like chameleon qualities. So should be able to join. That makes a lot of sense. They were like kind of like what is the point of them? I would say their point is to be like your third or fourth scout units. Like having a ton of scouts is really annoying for people, and like having multiple things you can drop behind enemy lines was really kind of fine. I already played them sometimes just for that reason, to just have more pressure on war machines, because you really want to kill war machines as a Lizardman player, because if you don't, your monsters die, and you probably want to run monsters. But giving them a little bit more oomph is really cool, and I think all these rules are quite thematic, and giving their blowpipes move and shoot as well makes them a lot more versatile. So I think it's cool. I really think it brings them up to par. And I think if you want to have like already have your 4 units of skink skirmishers, you want more skinks. That chameleon skinks are like a reasonable choice right now. Then Saurus Warriors, as I was saying, they do have the Armored Hide too. So like the Scar Veteran is like the one sad guy who only has Armored Hide 1, which is weird right now, but fine. Dropped 2 points to 12 points instead of 14. They can get a magic standard right now. They can have drills right now. I still don't think you ever run them. Infantry, unless it's a Death Star in the game, is sadly still quite bad. So, I mean, yeah. I just see no sort of like the direction of the army that you could take right now is like go full monster mash, I think, like and go like multiple Carnosaurs, like multiple maybe like even Troglodons, and just go full on the toughness 6, like Ancients and stuff, which have also been buffed. We'll see in a little bit. Or you go like the Flying Circus evasion type of deal, or you go full shooting. You go like Postilodons and like also Engine of the Gods and like maybe magic missiles like skinks and stuff like that. They like you never want to take Saurus Warriors. They never have a place. I think you always just want skinks and Temple Guard. So I like it they buffed them, but I don't think they're buffed enough. I don't think Drilled really does anything special for them. I think it does for Temple Guard, I can tell you that much. But yeah, I mean, it's just a sad unit. But at least you don't have to take it anymore, so that's great. But I mean, that's the same. I think it's more of a game design issue in the old world. For example, halberdiers. Do you ever see Imperial halberdiers? No, you don't, because they're garbage. So I think they have the same problem like all the other like basic infantry units have. Is that if you want to build a Death Star, you go for the elite sort of infantry unit, especially if you can take them in core, or you don't. That's kind of kind of the deal. So yeah. Temple Guard, however, have gotten quite strong. An extra initiative. They actually get light armor, shields, and armored height, so a 3-up save against shooting, which is pretty nice. They can go drilled. They have shield wall and stubborn, so they can stop stuff. They have got halberds and hand weapon shields. With obsidian blades, they still have their -1 IP. They also get predatory fighter, so I think Temple Guard are like a really decent unit currently. You can also put magic items on them as well. You can put a magic standard up as well, up to 100 points. So you could even just put the Sunset of Gotek just on them. Like get another one on your Slan if there's another one you would want. I don't know what there would be, but maybe you just even take it on a normal Temple Guard guy. I thought that they only could take up to 50, but take up to 100. It's crazy. It's pretty good. I think it's a good unit, and I think it's one of the strong core units. And I think going like towards a Slan in the unit, with the unit of Temple Guard is just a really viable and strong option right now as well to deny a lot of points. The problem with the unit is that if you go that route, you either need some broken combo like Gotek and Glittering Robes to make them survive against other Death Stars. But on the other hand, yeah, that's kind of what the game is right now. So I already talked about like that tension in design is that you want them to be strong like that, but also you don't want those things to be strong in the game because it's boring. But yeah, at least we have an option for that right now, I guess, for the meantime. Then Koshigors, they get a little bit of a better armor save. They get predatory fighter, which is cool. I still just don't think they're worth it. They're 50 points. They're quite slow. They're basically like very expensive ogres, and nobody takes ogres. They hate killing blow as well, I can tell you that. But they got a small buff, which I think is fine, which I think is reasonable. Jungle swarms haven't been changed. Some other big changes. Salamanders and Razordons. I think these guys are actually sort of reasonable right now. Basically, you do not have to buy the skinks anymore. So they're cheaper, effectively. And their fiery breath has move and shoot, which is a really big deal because it used to be you can only move 6 and then shoot, and now you can move 12 and then shoot. So it's a really big change. Fiery breath has also increased the AP by 2. So I think I actually really impressed by Salamander packs right now, and I think it's actually one of the ways in which you could kill a Death Star. If you just take 6 of these guys, oh man, bring up your Graveguard. Like, you can't necessarily catch them. If you have the Slan nearby, they're leash 9, so they can't scream at them. And I think, yeah, I think that the damage you can do with them is actually quite strong. Strength 4 AP2 is pretty nifty. You can even reserve move them, so if you're close enough, you can like move out from behind like the Temple Guard brick and then move back. It gives them a lot of flexibility. I think I actually just run these guys right now as are, and like maybe like a lot of them as well as like a counter against Death Star. So that's cool. I love the changes. Same for Razordons. They're actually more expensive than Salamanders right now, and they are not D3 shots anymore, but they are artillery dice shots right now. I mean, they're still only Ballistic Skill 3. They're probably going to be oh no, they're auto hits right now. That's the big change. I remember. Sorry, I was saying bullshit. I think it's just an artillery dice worth of hits. I mean, I think it's fine. It's good against like -1 to hit stacking, I guess. So it gives them a niche, which is fine. But I think Salamander packs will be the go-to with like move and shoot, like having like their big problem was that you couldn't move them far and shoot them. Like the difference between 12 and 6, especially with like the column of fire thing being pretty short range, is massive, and I think it makes them viable. And I think versus them have their niche as well. So I think these two are actually sort of good competitive units that you want to take if there's mass infantry in the game, and we have mass infantry in the game right now. Don't know if you're actually gonna like out damage the healing, but it gives you at least a chance to do so. And not all Death Stars heal. Like for example, against the Beastman Death Star, like getting to just chuck like 6 of these fiery breaths in them. Sounds great. Sounds like a lot of fun. Sounds like a great thing to build into as well. So it's definitely cool. Then we have Colton Riders. They just get their cast spears for free right now. You can actually put them up to a 2-up save with armored height 3, which is good. They get counter charge. I think you want to go, still want to go drill and light armor. I mean, if you're going to invest 34 points in a model, you also want to pay the 4 points extra to give them a 2-up save right now. So yeah, I think they're reasonable with cold-blooded. Their stupidity checks are actually quite doable as well, but I still think they're unreliable. They're still not going to make the charge when you want to. So I think they're a little bit better, but I still wouldn't take them. But I like the way they're going. I think they should be able to have a 2-up save. And I think they should just have the cavalry spears. You can only build them as with cavalry spears, so it's like weird that the base like sort of setup is something there's not actually a kit for. So why GW? So putting them up like this is pretty cool. And then we go up to the Terminal Riders to get an extra attack, which I think is quite big. They can go up to shields. So then they actually go up to like a 4-up save, right? Yeah, because they have armored height, shields, no light armor for C. No. So 4-up save is pretty good. Only toughness 3, of course, is like the whole thing. Like they see a fireball and they're already dead. But with drop rocks, and especially with the new fire leech bolas, which works like the grenade right now. If you make a hit, you get D3 hits, which makes them actually interesting. You can march and shoot as well. I think it's a cool unit. I think this might actually be better than it looks if you have a strong player with them in specific matchups. I think if you have a low shooting army, like something like Words of Chaos or something, and you just have like 12 Terminal Riders and like and just like fly around them and annoy them. I think that could be quite strong, could be quite annoying, especially with the bolas just like chipping you down, eventually just never being able to charge them. Having a 4-up save to be like to struggle with a little bit of shooting. I think that's cool. I think that's really interesting, and I think it's an interesting new path for the army to go. I think Ripperdactors would be cool in it as well, but I think the big problem that the Ripperdactors have in that is that they're impetuous with only leadership 5. So in your like full evasion, fly around people, annoy them, you don't want to have guys that need to randomly be like, ah, we're gonna charge. So and saying like, oh, just keep them in leadership range. Like the whole thing is that you just want to be able to fly them wherever you need to be and like be super mobile. Like needing to keep them in like a bubble is like completely counterproductive against that. So I think currently the impetuous is a big problem for them, and it's like for example, if these guys are ever outside of leadership range, you just park your dragon like outside of like 5 inches of them, just fly them up and be like, oh, you have to charge my dragon out. Like the river protectors charge, do 0 damage, and then the dragon just jumps them up, and they're like, okay, why did I take this unit again? So I kind of like the idea, but with all the sort of like big, massive stack units we have right now that are strong in the game, like dragons and Death Stars, yeah, I feel the buffs are justified and make them killy like against certain things, but not against things you actually need. So I don't know, like taking away their impetuous is also weird because they're like supposed to be these like frying frenzied guys. So maybe it's like a nice niche for them to have, but the current set of the game I wouldn't run them. Even though I like the design space. Carnosaur's got an extra pip of weapon skill, got Proteor Fighter, which is good, and have multiple wounds D3 against everything right now, which is cool and nice. I think it's especially good against regeneration, because and a lot of good things with regeneration right now. Because how the rules work is if you just bite something and you do multiple wounds, they have to take multiple regeneration saves. But if they make them, all of them count for combat res, because the rules say if you made a regen roll, that's a CR. So even if your guy has only 1 wound, and your slashing talent does 3 wounds against it, and you're like, oh, good, I'm gonna roll regeneration. You roll, even if you roll all of them, that's still 3 points of combat resolution, which is maybe not even what you want to do. So I think what then happens is that people be like, well, I'm just not gonna roll my regeneration. But I mean, then you're just ignoring a save. That's great. So I think it's maybe a bigger buff than it seems to be. It was already a good unit, and now it's better. So I think Carnosaurs are definitely something you're gonna see. And I think like 2 Carnosaurs and a Slan, or like maybe like one big Carnosaur or Blood and a Slan is definitely a setup you're gonna see. Only hard thing is I think you don't really can go Focus Rumination along with 2 Carnosaurs. You'd have to see. Maybe you can fit it in. Something like two Scarvet Veterans on Carnosaurs, one with Glyph Necklace, one Meteor Current, Talisman of Protection, and then like the Slan, but then the Banner of Gotek on the Temple Guard unit. I think that's like a really solid like sort of baseline for a list, which you're going to do a lot of damage with. And the main problem, of course, is that they're going to lose against like a dragon. So they're good. And they're anti-monster, but they're not going to beat the dragon. But maybe like your Slan with like his new rain can keep the dragons away for long enough that your Scar veterans can go hunt other stuff. So like lots of options, lots of things. It makes me very excited. Like lots of cool things you can do, lots of cool direction you can go. So I think they're good. I think they were already good, and now they're better. So that's great. And I don't think they're overbuffed. Like I only think the Banner of Gotek is overbuffed. I think that's the only thing I would really change right now, from like a PowerPoint perspective. Then we're gonna go to Stegadon and Ancient Stegadon. They both got 6 wounds, which pretty reasonable. The Ancient also got an extra pip of save, and they get armor piercing on their impact hits. Yay! They should definitely have it. It was like massive oversight that they did not have armor piercing on their impact hits. It's just so ridiculous. So it's cool that they get it right now. The Engine of the Gods now works in a way that bounce spells get extra buffs, which is another interesting way to sort of build your army list into. Because like if you go like an ancient, like an Engine of the Gods, suddenly your Bastillodons with solar beams get a lot stronger because instead of just rolling, have to roll a 7, you need to roll a 6 on the dice. And of course, it's you roll it on, you cast on a +3, which is better than somebody is dispelling at. So that's just strong. That's just good. That's like a setup you could do, like have 3 Bastillodons and then this guy and I have like lasers coming out of them. I think in the current meta with like Death Stars and monsters, it's just not enough to really kill a monster, and a lot of Death Stars have magic resistance, so I don't think it's good in this meta. But if you see a lot of knights, like that's a cool option to have, and that's a cool setup of like having these like this line of monsters like shooting laser beams and like having an engine buffing them. I love it. It's a cool idea. You could like also like do something like Ruining of Ruin next to it, because Ruining of Ruin is actually a bounce spell as well, so it would get it buff. So that's kind of cool. The Burning Alignment also gets the +1, so it's actually a +3 to cast, right? Yeah, that's quite good. It's quite a lot of +3 to cast in this army, which is stronger than you give it credit for, maybe, because the dispel roll is only +2 and it actually has to beat it. So yeah, on a 2d6 dice roll, that's quite strong. It's quite reliable. It's currently held in check, I think, by all the MR, but I think it's a cool direction. It's a cool thing to have. And it's also cool to have the Portent of Warding, to have something that, to have something to do when you're not shooting yet, to give like a ward save against the other things. It's also a rule they had lately, so it's like sort of nice to have something to have when you're moving up, and then nice to have something when you're a little bit closer. The problem with the Burning Alignment, though, is you cannot march and shoot it, right? I believe so. Not quite sure. Don't think you can. So short range, 6 inches. Yeah, it's not great, but I think you mainly have it to buff other things, and maybe have it like kind of like a stay back list. Have like your Bastillodons, and then as I was saying, like your Engine of the Gods to like have that's like firing base going off. That's pretty cool. To have it work like that. I do currently think you would never take a normal Stegadon, because it's only like 15 points more expensive, but you get a better armor save. And you get strength 6 and stomps. They have D3 +2 stomps. Is their like main damage thing? So like increasing the strength of that is like pretty big. They also get Skink Riders now, so you can actually use the Ancient Stegadon web skill, and it also has higher web skill. So I think really the Ancient Stegadon is winning out pretty big over the Stegadon right now. But I mean that's fine. I mean, if you want to go cheap, you can go cheap. It's at least a reason to go Stegadon. But I think currently we just go Ancient and put it in like that. And then we have some weapon changes as well. A giant bow, having multiple wounds too right now sounds reasonable. Works as a bolt thrower right now, which is cool. And you can move it and shoot it as well, actually. So that's kind of nice. Maybe that's a reason to go to normal Stegadon, because you can move and shoot it as well right now. I guess on an ancient you can, yeah, you can also still take a giant bow. So you wouldn't. Never mind. But it's at least a cool like little idea. I think the giant blowpipes are still too bad, actually. I think the giant bow is just, especially with the through and through shots, it's like, yeah, just kind of better. I think they're fine though. I think it's nice buffs, but I think the Engine of the Gods stuff with the bounce spells most interesting thing to go towards and actually build around. Then we go to Bastiladons. Actually, kinda everything is the same, just that they reduced the price to Ark of Sotek to make it a little bit more interesting as opposed to the Solar Engine, which is fair enough. And they made it so that you can make a shooting attack that has like poison attacks with the Slithering Serpents. But I think still the main thing is like Beam of Gotek, especially with like plus some bounce spells, where you want to go towards, and especially good against knights. So I think that's cool. So I think it's better in the meta, but I think it would work. And they made it Thunder's Bludgeon a little bit better. They were saying that they only wanted to have like be able to make a single attack with it and not all the attacks. So if you're getting very excited, please do take note of that. But I think that's cool. I think like having the bludgeon attack, being a little bit stronger and doing multiple wounds, pretty cool. Then actually the last page of the document, the Troglodon. I love that they made a Troglodon, dude. For those who do not know, in the 8th edition, the Troglodon was a model that you could take, but that was never quite strong enough, quite good enough. It was way too expensive, I believe. In the current game, it's like 200 points. It's just ridiculous for like a toughness 5 monster. So what they kind of did with it is they gave it a 4-up armor save, which is a big improvement. They made it 60 points more cheaper, which is just massive. But I think they needed it. You can take Battle Magic and Illusion. Illusion is a big one. You can take Glittering Rope, it makes it even tougher, so that's cool. And give it magic items even. What would you go on this guy? I don't know. Definitely go Glittering Rope as a spell currently. What would you use it for? I think you could definitely use this in like in like your monster mash, like mass predatory fighter like units. Like if you have like Temple Guards, 2 Carnosaurs, they all have predatory fighter, and then having one of these guys to buff them up a little bit sounds pretty good. And what I kind of like about it as well is that it's like cheap enough to actually be able to hunt other chaff. So like there's a lot of like core units of like 6 or 7 like horse archers, or like 12 skirmishers, or like 10 like cafe guys. And like I think this guy is cheap enough that you can just send him forward and deal with them. And if somebody like plumps their dragon into them, then you're like, well, now your very big expensive dragon is like hunting something cheap. You're sort of also fine with that. So I think it's a cool piece to have. It's like I think you can use it like as an anti-chaff sort of unit, and like sort of kill the chaff, make sure your skink stays safe, while giving some buffs and while being not a total pushover and being able to actually like side charge them as well into combat. I think it's cool. I think it's a cool unit. Might even be a little bit too cheap currently. But I mean, I think it's fine. I think it's cool. I think I do really like it. I think I like the direction where they went into it. I think its primeval role, like making a predatory fighter only on 5s or 6s, is an interesting thing. Like the old thing it had is like gain the Furious Charge special rule. Like all the Soros already had it, so it did absolutely nothing. While it was the idea that it should improve them. It also gets a bonus from the Skin Rider thing, so it goes up to web skill 3. So it's actually a ton of buffs for this guy. So I think it actually makes them viable and an interesting way to go. So what are my overall thoughts about the book? I think it's really nice. I think Um, it's a lot of like tasteful changes that like take a lot of things from the old rules and they implement it back into the old world. I think the game has like a great legacy, haha. But I'm serious, like a great history maybe is the better word, of all sorts of great rules that armies had and armies use, and yeah, implementing them back into like this and like making this like yeah, having this as a passion project. It really feels like all the history is seeping through, and it feels like really somebody made the rules who really knows the old rules. So that's I really like that. I think that's really cool, and I think it gives the Lizardmen some tools against Death Stars and dragons, which they desperately need. I think the Monsoon is the main thing we get against dragons, because having like that thing like stay in front of your dragon all the time, and not having to go like illusion lore familiar for it, like Column of Crystal is quite strong. And being able to move that one is like it's kind of annoying, and having like the benefit of like drenched, to actually have it be good against like shooting armies as well, is quite good. It's I quite like it quite a lot, because like for example, it's also good against like if you're playing against dwarves and like their sapper gunline stuff. It's also good against that because you just make them drenched and they have -1 to hit all the time. You put the rain cloud in front of them, so you get like heavy cover all the time. So it's like I think that's a really great rule and a really great way to go towards with that spell. Um, and yeah, the Death Star thing. Yeah, I think the only real thing we got against those with these new rules, if they would say the same, of course, which they don't, but just talking about it as if these were the end results. Like getting salamanders to like be able to toast some certain Death Star units is really nice. And currently, I think the Gotek combination with glitching robes is also a nice way to actually yeah, improve that situation and make it so we can build Death Star of our own. I think it makes Lizardmen a lot more viable. Um, and I think it solves a lot of the issues. But the thing I like most about it is that it gives you a lot of directions. It gives you like the monster mash direction. It gives you the flying circus with, I think, like actually just go 12 Terranons and see what happens. I think in some matchups it's really annoying, especially if you go like heroes inside them with the fire leech bolas and the drop rocks to make it so if there's like wizards running around with magic missiles, you can actually go snipe them. Yeah, I think that's cool. I think it could be very viable. Um, Maybe even combined with like the magical um, like magical artillery, sort of Bastillodon with Engine of the Gods, Stegodon. So many ideas, so many different directions I can go. So I like it a lot. I think it's very far along. I think my main focus would be to focus on Gotek and maybe focus on making the magic items just a little bit more interesting. But for the rest, really nice job, guys. I really love it as a Lizardman aficionado. Um, and with that being said, I'd like to thank you for watching, listening. Maybe throw me a like if you got all the way over here, or subscribe, and I'll see you again next time.